Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Jacqueline King, and as I say all the time, we bring amazing people to you doing amazing things. And I promise you, tonight will not disappoint you. I have Kelly running like a mother.
Yep.
Thompson with me tonight, and she is amazing. I've had a chance to meet her, and I think she's an amazing woman. I'll give you a little bio. Her bio is like a book. But Kelly Thompson is a mother of six, a grandmother of 12. She has a BS in Business Administration from the University of Central Florida. She's married to her high school sweetheart. She's a co-owner of a concrete contracting company that serves northern Indiana, southern Michigan, and western Ohio. Her work with the local youth opened her eyes to the real needs of our community, so she decided to make sure our local representative was aware of them. He was not interested, and he was dismissive. So she decided to represent our families. She never saw herself as a politician, and she still doesn't, but she is an advocate, a problem solver, and a fiercely courageous, especially when there's so much on the line. She'd always voted Republican until 2016 and could not understand how the party who claimed to care about families, small businesses, and fiscal responsibility could fall in line behind uh, the current president.
Yep.
So in 2020, after trying to get her state rep to care, she approached the local Republican chair and was told that as a woman, she was unqualified and she should instead set her sights on the school board. That blew me away.
Listen, I'll be
uh,
abundantly
uh,
clear that school board roles are very, very important. But the reason that that bothered me is because after working with our local families for a decade, I knew what they needed and I couldn't affect that kind of change from a school board position. So, yeah, I know.
so I mean, how did you feel when he said that? Were you insulted?
Um, it's not the first time in my life that somebody has looked at me and decided I was unqualified or they just didn't want me in the room. And oftentimes, when you use your voice to speak up for the people that other people want to ignore, it ruffles feathers. So it didn't hurt me. I just moved on. I said, well, families still need help. So I don't care. Let me move over here. But I had already been shifting. The only reason at that point in time that I considered running with the Republican Party was because we live in Northern Indiana and I knew families needed change. And so I thought, what are my best chances of winning to help these?
Gotcha.
And so that's why I approached the Republican Party first. So when they told me no, I thought, okay, well, now the decision has been made for me. So when I talked to the Democratic Party, they were like, "Yeah, sure, let's go, let's do it," because they took the time to listen to my heart. They knew why I was running and what I was ready to fight for, and quite honestly, it aligns better with the Democratic Party. Um, I'm really tired of talking about party, and maybe you and I can get into this a bit here because party has been used to make sure that we, the people, don't get what we deserve. It's used as
Abs-
a divisor.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, when did you make up your mind to run for this most prestigious position?
So in when Donald Trump won this last time in 2024, in November, I all of a sudden realized that my 6 kids and my grandkids all had targets on their back. My family is big, and when you look at the cross section of my family, it's like the cross section of America. And so I couldn't allow my Black family members to continue down this line with an administration that is so openly and proving more so every day racist, with no shame. I couldn't do that with my daughter who's married to her beautiful wife. I can't let them have a target on their back. I have a beautiful trans cousin. I've got a daughter who's a single mama of a daughter. I've got a mother with stage 4 breast cancer, and I lost my sister to addiction. We've got union workers, small business owners, musicians. This is my family. And when I looked at them, I thought they need a fighter. They need somebody who will step in, stand up to power, and say, no, we are paying our taxes. We are trusting you to spend them in our best interest. You are not. We have watched you pledge allegiance and loyalty to defend the Constitution, and you are not. Um, we've never had an administration so corrupt and untrustworthy, which lies at the drop of a hat. And I realized that was that we're all in danger. Let's be honest about where we are right now. This is, for me, unprecedented times, and I cannot look my grandbabies, my 9 granddaughters, in the eye without saying, Mimi tried to make sure that you'd be able to vote. And we are watching them systematically destroy the Voting Rights Act before our very eyes.
Absolutely.
Not
Well,
hyperbole.
I
Yep.
thank you for stepping up. I mean, it's a lot of work. I
It is.
see you're like everywhere, and I think you and I are close to in the same age bracket.
Yep.
Uh, do you get tired? I know you do.
I do get tired, but my slogan, like you mentioned earlier, is running like a mother. And we know what we've got in the tank, and we know how to run when that tank is empty, especially if the need is great, right? We've all heard the stories of mothers who can throw automobiles off of their children because we do what has to be done in that moment. So, yeah, there are days that I'm tired. After the primary, I could feel my body go, okay, phew, done there. Now moving on. But we know how to dig deep. And so, listen, if the house is on fire, and you're trying to get your family out, you don't think about whether you're tired. You don't.
Right.
There will come a time for rest later, but it is not now. There is too much on the line. When I ran in 2020 for the state house, that was because I knew what families needed and I could see that the systems were not serving them well. And I was tired of them not having a voice at the table where those decisions are made. Now I'm running for those same reasons, but also democracy, but also voting rights, but also to not be a global bully, to not blow through the Constitution, to not be committing war crimes, to not be financing wars for other countries when it doesn't serve us well, to not endanger our sons and daughters because the president needs a distraction. We have to have people who are brave enough to stand up to power and say no.
I
And
love that.
yeah.
And thank you for your no.
Hmm.
Um, you and I were talking a few minutes ago, and I said I wanted to ask you a question. And for my audience, which is probably heavily African American,
Hmm.
um, what is it about the current president that white people feel so aligned with? What makes them want to have him as the president? Because after the first election, I mean, we just knew there was no way he was going to get in again.
Right. Yeah, right. We were so sure. And yet here we are. And I think everybody was a little bit surprised. And, like we often say that the Black community is not a monolith, nor is the white, right? And so we definitely have a contingent of white voters, but I don't think that they are a monolith either. So I read a book in my confusion, and it was called Strangers in Their Own Land. And it was about a professor, it's a true story, who went down into Louisiana and was trying to figure out why people were voting against their best interest. Right. And so she did a deep dive. She lived with them, she ate with them and listened to their reasonings. And the book identifies some categories. And some of those categories are, the cowboy who just wants to be in charge and wants to be rough and tough. And Donald Trump appeals to that group, right? The thing about that resonated with me, and I know you and I had talked earlier about the fact that I did consider myself a Republican until 2016. And the reason for that is because the churches that I attended told me that's what Christians do, right? We were single issue voters, and that single issue was abortion. Nothing else mattered. And that's
Mm-hmm.
it was taught by my father and then taught by my pastor. And so that indoctrination, um, and the type of church that it was, which was high control. Don't trust yourself. Don't trust your mind. Don't question anything. That type of control erases even the possibility of critical thought. So you just take in what you're supposed to do and you prove you're a good little soldier by being obedient, submission, 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 submission. And so I didn't start thinking until my 6 kids started to grow up and they started to challenge me because in my home, I was raising them to be like Jesus.
Mm.
They saw me voting for people and policies that looked nothing. like Jesus. Not only that, there were times that we'd be in church and the pastor would do something. I remember my teenage daughter, she was maybe 13 at the time, got up and walked right out. Walked right out
Oh
of service.
wow.
I was like, what's going on? And I walked out. Well, the pastor had used Miley Cyrus in a derogatory way, as an example. And my daughter just stood up and said, you can't tell me Jesus would have done that. You can't. That would never, the Jesus mom that you taught me about, that we read about, would never have done that. And so my kids began to wake me up and crack me open. And and if I'm honest, you mentioned I was a nonprofit founder to help our local youth that were struggling with. We had a suicide epidemic here in our little town, and I felt like God was asking me to just love them and to help them understand that they were loved and lovable exactly the way they are. And I felt very, very clearly that I was not to try to change them in any way, shape, or form. Just create a safe place where they can begin to believe that they are okay, just the way they are. Well, as I did that with them, I realized I could extend grace everywhere except for toward myself, because that controlling environment that I grew up in made it so that I couldn't question anything and I wasn't supposed to trust my own mind. But as I extended grace, I began to receive it myself. Then I began to like myself. Then I began to trust myself. And then I began to think
Mm.
and to
Uh,
think, learned.
if you're just tuning in, we're with Kelly, running like a Mother Thompson. She's running for U.S. Congress. We will give you her information if you want to donate or you want to look up what she's doing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please share the broadcast because this conversation, although we are in Indiana, this conversation goes across the world because this is stuff that we need to be talking about. Why are people who are have their they need SNAP, they need this, they
Mhm,
need that. Their benefits are being cut off, but yet they're still supporting someone who's doing destruction to their families. Why is that? And those are conversations that we need to have.
mhm.
So we are having them tonight. So, what is your plan?
So so here's, I have plan when I get in office, plan how to get into office, Um I want to say one more thing about why so many white people vote for Donald Trump before I leave that, because I got sidetracked with my own story, but I was getting somewhere in that right now I think they do feel the pain themselves, but admitting you're wrong, or
Hmm.
that you were lied to and you believed it, or walking away from that ideology and that identity is scary and takes time. And so, in the conversations that I have with people, I make sure that I create a place of welcome because they're scared. They could have to leave family, church, friends, work, everything comes into danger, right? And so, we just have to make sure that we create a place of welcome as the pain finally hits them and they can't ignore the lies. When the president lies about what's going on overseas, it's easy to believe him. But when he's lying about there being food in your fridge and cash in your wallet and there's not, there's very little room to hide. So, um, anyway, that's where I wanted to go with that.
And
But
the gas prices,
and
don't
all
forget.
stuff, it's all of it. It's rent, it's utilities, it's food, it's gas prices, it's heating your home, it's education, it's healthcare, it's everything, and it's unsustainable. So my plan when I get into office, is that what you're asking right now? Or
Yes.
get there? Okay, my plan when I get into office is to make sure, I mean, the oversimplified thing is to make sure that our tax dollars actually work in our best interest. I think we've seen example after example in this administration where they cut $990 million or $1 billion from SNAP and Medicaid, and then, just went ahead and did the exact same gift in tax cuts to the wealthy. We can see that this is open corruption. We can see the president enriching himself, while other people are suffering. And so, my plan is to make sure that we have universal childcare, that we have universal education, and I have a way to pay for all of this. They all have positive ROIs. So when the federal government spends with positive ROIs, that is investment, not expense, because it comes back, right? We also need a universal healthcare system. But the reason that I talk about these things all in conjunction is because if you're going to make sure that everybody has access to healthcare, we are going to need more doctors, more nurses, more techs, more hospitals, all of those things, which means we need education, right? And we
Hmm.
keep expecting our kids or our people to go into debt to receive the education that we as a country need them to have, right? We need these positions filled. And so if you go to work at General Motors and all of a sudden they put you on the line where you have to put the airbag in the steering wheel and you've never done that before, they have to train you. And who pays for that training? GM, right? That's what they need you to be. That's what they need you to know. Well, this is what we as a country need ourselves. So as long as there's a positive return on investment, ROI, then we need to make sure that we have these things. Other industrialized nations already do. There's no reason for us not to.
And so how can you shift the narrative, or what can you say to shift the narrative for the people who are diehard
Hmm.
Republicans, regardless to what's going on?
Yeah. Here's the way I look at it. I'm a problem solver at heart, right? So I've thought a lot about how to win this race, right? You are not going to get the diehard MAGA Republicans. That's something that they will either come to terms with that or they won't. I had one on my front porch just a week ago who had just gone to the food pantry to get food for his family, and he asked for a yard sign. And so I was handing it to him, and he said, I've been on the Trump train for all three elections. And I woke up one day and thought, I'm sick and tired of defending this man when he's getting richer and I'm getting poorer. So they will reach their own tipping point or they won't. The conversations that we need to have are the people who are not tied to their party by identity, who simply say, who has the best plan and who can I trust? And when you have conversations with people that start like that, the parties change, right? They follow their leader. We're watching the Republican Party change before our eyes, following a leader down a very dark path right now. We have to become intelligent voters and listen to people and listen and say, why are you running? Where are you getting your money? And what do you want to fight for? And how do I know that you're going to fight for that when you get there? And how do I know that you're going to come back and talk to us once you get this job? That takes getting to know the candidate. It's hard to do. But what I'm finding is everywhere I go, I am met with people, Republicans, libertarians, Democrats. It doesn't matter. They know that we are headed down a dark path and they want somebody to try to stop it. And Congress's job is to be the stopgap. We are supposed to be the firewall between an out of control executive branch and the people. And because Congress right now has laid down and given this Trump administration a blank check, we are watching our rights and our liberties, our safety and our freedom vanish before our very eyes. So in my mind, it's now or never. It's now or never.
Absolutely. Talk about this recent Supreme Court decision on the Voting Right Acts.
Yep. This was a horrific move. I've done a lot of research to try to figure out when all of this bad stuff started to happen. And truthfully, it was the early 70s. I mean, yeah, like 72-ish with the Powell memo and stuff. And they had a plan for how to take over the government. And they've done that. I now, in hindsight, we can see it all play out before us. But ultimately, what happened in the Voting Rights Act right now is Chief Justice John Roberts finally got his way. He has been wanting to gut this Voting Rights Act
Yes.
time, and he finally got what he wanted. He fought against voting rights before he was on the Supreme Court. So if you look back, this has been his plan all along. And with this stacked court, this is nothing but blatant racism and control. And it's being sold in the media right now by both sides as it's a loss for the Democrats or it's a win for the Republicans. And this is when I talk about party what I hate. This is a loss for the people. This isn't just a loss for the Democrats because Democrats are fighting for issues like childcare, healthcare, education. Those are not red or blue issues. When I go to Washington, D.C., I'm fighting for all Americans to finally get what we deserve, what we've been paying for, right? But when they say what happened in the Supreme Court and what's happening in Louisiana is a blow to Democrats, it's not. It's a blow to people everywhere because everybody needs what we are trying to write into policy and law. Everybody needs that. And as long as they keep us fighting each other and the Democrats are going, oh, I'm mad, or the Republicans, oh, I'm mad, we never come together and get what we actually deserve. But here's the thing, this gutting of the Voting Rights Act and what we're seeing with redistricting and all of the intimidation at the polls and all of the stuff that's going on, it's because the people in power know the power of our vote more than we do. So they're trying to stay ahead of the curve. They know they have written and enacted policy that is hurting voters. It's terrible. It's self-sabotaging on their part. And the
I
only thing that
agree.
works for them is if they can keep us from voting. But if everybody would vote, if we understood the power of our vote like they do, or they would not be trying to redraw these lines. I don't care where they draw lines. If we can adequately message what we are fighting for, then it won't matter. People will show up to vote in their best interest. It's just a matter of letting voters know who has the plans and policies that are in their best interest. That's a messaging problem.
So what they're actually trying to do is redistrict where the minority votes won't count.
Right.
Is that accurate?
So here's what happens, right? You have urban areas, which
Hmm.
are more diverse areas. And in that diversity, there's a more democratic thought because we are more tolerant. We know each other. When you live in small, little rural areas, you don't have a lot of people there who look different, love different, sing different, worship differently than you. And so, in that isolation, I think breeds fear of the unknown, and so you don't get open minds as much in those areas, right? We just haven't experienced as many things, or we have experienced different things, I might say. But in urban areas, you're going to have an apartment building with people who might speak 4 different languages, right? And so that changes things. So in urban areas that they mostly vote blue, this redistricting carves them up so that if you had a city of 400,000, now 100,000 of them are going to vote in this district, and 100,000 of those people are going to vote in this rural district and this rural district. So it dilutes their vote, which
Mm.
their voice, right? So what you're going to have, like in Louisiana, if they get their way, is there will be no Black representation, right? This is what they're trying to do. And this is just step one. They've already played with the voting rights of women. We have not heard the last of that. This is this country going backwards on purpose. It's not
Absolutely.
our slipping. They're literally dragging us backwards. And the only reason people do things like this is because it benefits them. And how can making sure they silence us benefit them? Because if we're not at the decision making table, then every law and policy, from the environment to a livable wage to healthcare, is going to be dictated by corporations and by
Hmm.
dollars. And it will always benefit Wall Street, and it will never benefit Main Street if Main Street is not at the table.
And talk to the people about how not voting is not an option.
Not voting. Listen, I would encourage everybody to go and find some movies about the suffrage movement and some movies about the civil rights and the blood and the sacrifice and the injury and the death that happened fighting for our right to vote so that we can be heard. And I think we don't know that history. I think we don't remember. And because of that, we've been lulled into this false sense of security that the United States was just always going to stay free and was always going to be the land of opportunity. But there will always be greed who is fighting against freedom and opportunity and liberty and safety always. If they can control us, they can profit off of us. But our power is so much greater than theirs if we just show up to vote. If you don't, and I've talked to people who say, no, 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 I don't want to be a part of the system. If you don't, you're still a part of the system. It's just if you don't go vote for the issues that affect your life, If you're tired of your health insurance premiums being so high and still having a high deductible and still having high copays, if you're tired of paying off student debt, if you're tired of not being able to find childcare for the members of your family, if you're tired of watching your government spend billions of dollars every day on a war we never asked to be in, if you're tired of that, then you have to vote. You have to vote. I watched a state Senate race on Tuesday be won by 15 votes.
Mm.
15 votes. This is what matters. If we all show up to vote, it won't matter where they draw those lines because I believe we are smart enough and brave enough to vote for us. And when I say us, I mean all Americans everywhere. And if we get this country back and we can stop being a global bully and instead invest our dollars in building schools and hospitals in countries instead of dropping bombs on theirs, then I think terrorism goes down. I think the world becomes a safer, kinder place. We all are safer. And that's what we need.
Here's my biggest fear. Um, Even if we say turn this around, how many decades is it going to take to undo all of the damage
Well, I
that this?
Yeah, every day we wake up and something else is broken, right? And we think we have to fix it. And so what I'm hoping is there are lists of the good people who've been let go, and I hope they'll consider coming back. I think that when we do take back the House and the Senate in 2026 and we get there in early 2027, we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We have to be able to fix the things that were broken, but we also have to build back better, right? We have to make sure that we put stronger safeguards in place. We have to make sure we ban stock trading for Congress. We need term limits. They can be 12 years, right? You can be there for a while, but it shouldn't be your lifelong career. This needs to go back to public servanthood. We need to have a 5-year moratorium on lobbying after they're out. We need an enforceable code of ethics on the Supreme Court because right now they just self
Mm.
govern, doing a very good job. And we also need to make sure that we overturn Citizens United. That might have to start at the state level, but either way, we have to get corporate PAC money out of our politics.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Mm.
Um,
And
so
have to
go ahead.
prosecute this administration. We have to. We have to investigate and prosecute when wrongs have been done. If we don't, then we've set a precedent that you can get away with this type of behavior. And if we don't, we will never be able to reestablish our relationships with our allies because they're watching right now. They're not just disappointed in this administration, they also don't trust us, the voters, to keep our administration in check. And because of that loss of trust, it makes us in a more dangerous position globally. It makes the whole world a more dangerous place.
You're a wealth of knowledge. I'm so glad that we got together finally to do this interview. Um, what message would you like to leave with our followers?
Well, I think we touched on the voting thing. If you weren't clear about
Mm-hmm.
it, I need every vote, and I need you to take people with you who've not voted in the past. It's intimidating, but take them to vote. And then please find candidates that you believe in and support them. And here's why. If we don't donate and help them get their message out, they can't get elected. And if they can't get elected, that leaves the people in power who are either A, so independently wealthy they can fund their own campaigns, which means they don't understand our lives, or they've taken money from people to get them there, and then they work for those people and not us. So if we want change, I need you to consider supporting candidates that you believe in, that you trust. If I should happen to be that, you can find me at kellythompsonforcongress.com. I have received donations from all across this country because when I get to Washington, D.C., I add my name and my vote to those that are already there and those that are coming, and we fight for what the people in this country need.
Kelly running like a mother. Thompson. I when I first saw that, I said, this is my type of woman. Because you care about mothers and families and
Mhm.
it shows. I mean, you show up. You don't just talk about it. You are about it. You
Yep.
go out and do what needs to be done. You have my support. You already know that. We
Thank you.
will be continuing to post your so they can donate, because they can donate from anywhere.
Right.
If you feel so led to donate to this amazing, I say young woman because we're about the same age.
I'll take it.
We will have the link available. Kelly, you have been amazing. You always are amazing. I am praying for you
Thank
and our country because we need it.
Yep, the whole world does. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, we do. And thank you so much for your time, everyone. Thank you for showing up. Please share the broadcast because it doesn't matter what state you're in. You need to hear these nuggets of wisdom as far as voting and and politics and why people do what they do. It's really, really important. And we thank everybody. Mona, Peter, Nina Bailey was on earlier. I don't know if she's still on. Hope Gordon, thank you so much. Thank you guys for ladies and men for showing up. And again, share the broadcast. Kelly, we have to do it again because you're
Yeah.
going to get in.
Yes.
I'm going to predict that you're going to get in.
Great. Let's do that. Let's keep talking even after I'm elected. Let's do.
Absolutely, we will do that. Thank you, everybody, and have a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Happy Mother's Day to you, Kelly,
Thank you.
and until the next time,
All right.
God
Sounds
bless.
good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Black Women Empowered Directory offers excellent opportunities for networking due to several key factors. Community of like minded individuals. See, the directory brings together a community of Black and Brown women who share common goals, interests, and experiences. Networking within this community provides a unique opportunity to connect with individuals who understand and support each other's aspirations and challenges. Within our directory, you'll find Black and Brown women from diverse professional backgrounds, including entrepreneurship, corporate leadership, nonprofit organizations, and more. This diversity opens up a wealth of networking opportunities, allowing members to tap into a wide range of expertise, resources, and connections. While we're open to most businesses, we focus on the underserved. Don't delay. Join the Black Women Empowered Directory today at blackwomenempowereddirectory.com. The Black Women Empowered Directory offers excellent opportunities for networking due to several key factors. Community of like-minded individuals. See, the directory brings together a community of Black and brown women who share common goals, interests, and experiences. Networking within this community provides a unique opportunity to connect with individuals who understand and support each other's aspirations and challenges. Within our directory, you'll find Black and brown women from diverse professional backgrounds, including entrepreneurship, corporate leadership, nonprofit organizations, and more. This diversity opens up a wealth of networking opportunities, allowing members to tap into a wide range of expertise, resources, and connections. While we're open to most businesses, we focus on the underserved. Don't delay. Join the Black Women Empowered Directory today at blackwomenempowereddirectory.com.